are back. It is episode 102.
I think. 102. Yes, it is.
102, I think.
Pretty sure
I am
right.
Metal Rob. With me, as always, is the great Carcass John, and now the new and improved show featuring Scott, Sparkling Waters.
Not today.
We're not sparkling. It's
What are we
hotter
doing
than
today?
It's hotter than the sun today.
Today, my name is Scott. Are you related to Roger Waters?
Oh,
I like it. I like it very
there we
much.
go again. There
The
we go
question-
again.
The question I get a lot.
Yep.
Are you related to
You're that
Roger Waters?
Either that or Jeff.
Okay, now that I could kind of see.
That I would like.
Yeah.
I wish you knew Jeff Waters. We get him to play the living room.
My brother's name is Jeff, but it's not that Jeff Waters.
It's not the riffing maniac from Canada.
No, it's not. Nor is it the bass player from the UK
Oh yeah.
Yes.
or the blues player from the US. Muddy.
Well, here comes Frazier and TJ and Metal Overkill. What is up, boys?
Doesn't take long for the roaches to scramble when the lights go out.
That's right.
And
That's
the
right.
curtain rises, and here we are.
Well, let's kick off the show. I am Metal Rob. You can follow me on Instagram at I am Metal Rob. You can follow the Carcass at Carcass John Art, and I would highly encourage you to go to YouTube, which you probably are on right now, or Facebook. But go to YouTube, search up Scott Waters, and check out his badass channel. And I sent him a gift this week, and yeah, he's going to show you something pretty sweet. So, and it's music related. So I don't know what else he might show you, but
It wasn't a leopard skin pair of something or other.
no, not at
Okay,
all.
good.
And the
Where's
Carcass,
the big
let's
batteries?
see, is wearing a blood incantation shirt. Am I right?
Yeah. Yes, I'm going with my summertime look since it's 102 today here in
Okay.
the great state of Texas.
Yep. I went classic logo with the metal church, which is apropos for today. And Scott's got combat faith. Okay.
I do. I got the tribute shirt to. Let me back up a little bit. To tribute shirt to Rick Buteau.
Right on.
Yep, 56 to 2016, and I will be sending one of these shirts to Metal Rob to give away on the show.
Nice.
Make
as
sure
well as
make sure-
a couple other cool things.
make sure it's sleeveless so Rob can wear it.
No, it's not. It's got
No.
long sleeves actually. This was a long sleeve shirt too, but now it's sleeveless.
Well, my thank you, and we will give that stuff away. That'll be cool. My shout out today is going to be to Henry the Hammer Vasquez, who is about to head out on tour. I think you and I'll be seeing the show on about August 6th.
August 6th. And they
Yeah.
actually have their own beer called the Skull Obsessed IPA.
We'll be checking out the Obsessed, the Skull, and if you listen to the Metal Rob show at all, you already know about Iron Jaw. So that will be awesome. That's going to be a good show. The Carcass and I should be there, and we hope to see, if you're in the DFW area, come on out and hang with us. So shout out and safe travels to the Hammer, Henry Vasquez. What about you boys?
Steal me an Iron Jaw set list and get it signed.
I'll see what I can do.
Yep. Well, speaking of Iron Jaw, I talked to the governor, Rick Perry, himself today, and we had a discussion about Godzilla. Today is the 40th anniversary of Godzilla versus Hedorah, a.k.a. the smog monster. And we can go on and on about the philosophical value of Godzilla, but we won't. Maybe for another podcast. But we talked about Iron Jaw. They're maybe even talking about doing some new music, maybe by the end of the year. They're stoked about playing this show with in Arlington, so it'll be good to see them. I haven't seen them in a while. So anyway, let's see. I'm on the way to see Kick, Slaughter, and the Warrant. Okay. But
You're speaking my language, Kyle.
yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
But anyway, so shout out to Rick Perry. We got to talking a little bit about artwork too, and like what are we going to do with their Iron Jaw logo? And I think that we could all three of us agree, because we're not experts, by the way. We're just a bunch of dudes sitting around the table talking about music. And but the Iron Jaw logo, for whatever reason, and I'm not patting myself on the back because I don't want to separate a shoulder, but I don't know what else I could do with it to make it better. It's like almost, I don't know. It's almost perfect. How about
I think
that?
it is too. I like the Iron Jaw logo.
It came out great. Who are you shouting out, Scott?
I don't really have a shout out that I can think of this week other than you for giving me that awesome box, which I will show in the video. I don't want to spoil it here. I'll show it in the video later on. Should be up tonight. So if all goes well.
That's awesome. A couple of comments real quick before we launch in. Johnny says, "Hey guys, hello. Hope everyone is well. We are as well as we can be. I think Fraser's going to see Fall Out Boy tomorrow.
What?
Mexican Dio Saturday. Oh, somebody's kicking Fraser in the balls. So, all right, we have, unfortunately, we would have done a Metal Church episode eventually at some point, but obviously with the passing of the great Mike Howe yesterday, we decided that we would go ahead and talk about Metal Church today. I want to remind everybody, because we got a comment last week that was like, at least somebody knows the Wasp music. And I get that. I don't know all of it. But you got to remember, on this show, we are not experts. We don't pretend to be experts. They have a lot more knowledge about a lot broader spectrum than I do. But this show is designed to be dudes sitting around in a bar talking about what they do know about music. So we do not pretend to be experts. If you are here for expertise, I don't know, man. I mean, we look good, but we're not that smart. So, well, I mean, anyway, so we're going to launch into a little Metal Church talk. Obviously, nobody knows what happened, and it's none of our business. But I'll start off by talking about my Mike Howe interaction. And I saw him live twice that I remember. I saw him in, I believe, 89, because Wasp was on their Headless Children tour, and it was Metal Church and Accept opening. And Metal Church and Accept had brand new replacement singers for the original guys. Metal Church was on their Blessing in Disguise tour, if I remember correctly, and Mike Howe, which was mane of blonde hair, was out there doing his thing. They had a couple of killer videos out, and so I was super pumped to see them, as well as Accept, featuring oh my gosh, Bangalore Choir. Help me out, Scott.
Bangalore Choir.
David Reese.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was a pretty cool show. We talked about it actually last time on the Wasp episode, but I just remember those guys were pretty good. I don't remember a ton about the show other than all the bands were really good. Now, more recently, when Mike got back in the band a few years ago, my interest in the band peaked again. I'd stayed with them for the most part because I love Metal Church, but I thought it was a cool revival because I thought Ronnie Monroe did a great job too.
Yeah,
and I regret not seeing them when they came to Dallas with Ronnie Monroe. It was on a weeknight, and I didn't go like a lame ass. And I did not see Ronnie in the band, so I terribly regret that. But I did see them play the same club with Mike, and he did his conductor thing like he does, and he was fantastic. Just knocked it out of the park. The whole band was great, and they always do the free meet and greet at the end. And I was able to talk to Stet for just a minute, and I always try not to whip their asses, but with BS. But I met Kurt for just a minute, and he was very nice, as I expected. But I met Mike, and Mike was just so down to earth and so kind, and they all were. But in particular, Mike struck me as, man, this dude's up there just kicking all kinds of ass and being the conductor that he is up there doing his deal. And then he's, sidling up to me, getting a couple pictures. I think their manager took the picture maybe. And then he leans in and it's like, hey man, make sure those turned out before you leave, because I want to make sure you get good pictures. And I just thought that was nice. He just seemed like a really cool, sweet dude. And so that was my brief interaction with him. but overwhelmingly the comments on the internet are just nothing but he was a class act, a great dude, and all that. So we certainly want to send our condolences to the friends and family of Mike Howe. We loved his tunes, and then we're going to go through the catalog, Metal Church catalog, like we do, and Scott's probably going to lead the way. But what do you guys have to say, if anything, about the late great Mike Howe?
Well, and not to be shortchanged either. I know we're off. We don't want to get off the Mike Howe Metal Church subject, but Joey Jordison also passed away today.
I just read that.
The drummer from Slipknot. And say what you will about that band. I mean, you can't argue with their success. Do I think that Anthrax, Slayer, and Motorhead should have been their direct support on the Mayhem tour? No, but they had a wild following and a pretty dedicated, loyal following. And in any loss of life is a bad thing, in my opinion, even if he plays in a cheesy band. So it just goes to show you that. And when I heard that thing about Mike Howe, I mean, he was a young guy, healthy guy. I mean, I say young, 55. That's young to me. But he was a healthy dude and had a great voice and seemed to love life and had took advantage of his opportunity with a solid band. And man, you just don't know when it's going to end. So I don't know. It's almost a commentary on live it as well as you can while you can, because you never know when the door's going to close. I don't know. I was more in tune with the earlier Metal Church era, but I did like his voice. And Scott, wasn't he in Heretic? Didn't you say?
Was. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I really like that band too. And so I guess because I'm old, I like the older stuff that he did. But that being said, I heard the new stuff and I was shocked. It's hard to replace a guy like David Wayne or whatever. I mean, it's always hard to replace the original guy. You know what I mean?
That's a given. Yep. I agree.
I guess I talked too long. And I just got pulled. I got the big cane like they used to do back in vaudeville.
Yep.
But what are you gonna say? I mean, like I said, it's too young.
It isn't too young, and it's really unfortunate. I was sitting on the couch last night watching TV with my wife, and she looks over at me, and I was just like aghast. I was like, I couldn't believe what I was reading online. I'm like, this has got to be a joke. The guy's so young. He's my age. I'm like, it can't be true. So I actually didn't believe it. So I had to go check another site, and I'm like, oh my, it's everywhere. It's got to be true. And then I saw that the family had posted it, and I was like, oh my gosh. My wife looks at me. She goes, what's wrong? I guess I must have looked upset. And I said, one of the Metal families died. And I said, and my wife's not a metalhead, but she understands what I'm saying. And I said, yeah, Mike Howe died. She's like, you're all right? I said, yeah, I'm all right. It just sucks. It's just sad to see someone go like that.
I agree that the age has a lot to do with it, but these guys are our heroes, and I don't mean to be, silly or flippant about it at all. I mean, it was weird to me. This one hit me, cut me a little deeper than some, because even meeting him in passing and them giving you the time of day and being nice to you, it makes an impression. It's just like Dio was quoted as saying, you're going to move on and you're not going to remember your time with them, but they are going to remember you forever. And I just felt like he was really cool about putting those couple of minutes in with the fans, a couple of quality minutes of his time. And I appreciate him for doing it, because, he didn't know me from Adam and I didn't know him at all, but I thanked him for his work and, appreciated his effort in the band, and hell, he led them back to their popularity. I don't think there's any denying that. And he just treated me nice. And so, it was a bummer, man. It was a real bummer, and still is. So our heroes are fragile, man. And 55 is not old, but, I guess it's coming for all of us eventually. But
eventually, yep.
Boy, I hope I make it to 55. Good night. That's just too young. But
Me too. I hope I make it to 55. Oh, wait.
You're closer to 65, moron.
Oh, man. Thanks.
Sold you out.
Take us through some of the catalogs, Scott.
All right, so Metal Church, formed in 1980, released a crap load of demos, which I have this compilation record of all their old demos. Yeah, they were playing fast, thrashy metal before there was such a thing as thrash metal. I've always known Metal Church to be the archetype, the U.S. power metal band. This is the definition of U.S. power metal. It's that sound that walks the fence between thrash, the Slayer, Metallica, Exodus kind of sound, and traditional metal, the Judas Priest, Iron Maiden kind of stuff. And Metal Church is that band that kind of walked that fine line between those two styles, which to me was what U.S. power metal was. In fact, even Metallica early on were calling themselves power metal back in the early 80s. Yep. So in any case, but yeah, Metal Church were doing it before Metallica, before Megadeth, before, even before Slayer. But they didn't gain the popularity of those bands, obviously, and didn't actually get anything out until 1983? Was that when this album came out? I think their first record.
85.
85. So yeah, so they were a little late on the scene for a band that had been around for that long and were putting out such aggressive music. But yeah, this featured, of course, David Wayne on vocals, who we also lost. 2005, I think.
It's been a while.
I think it's 2005. I'm pretty sure it was 2005. In any case, this album is just fantastic. It's raw. It's heavy. It's got this youthful energy. It's very much not in time. If you put a metronome to this thing, it's all over the place. But that's all right. It flows and it's human. They put out an album many years later called The Human Factor, and that's what this thing is all about. It's just a bunch of young guys in a studio playing heavy metal, and not copying anybody, because there wasn't anybody that sounded like this at the time. I mean, the closest thing you might get is, like a Rapid Fire by Judas Priest or something like that. Poison the Attic by Aerosmith. That's kind of that was the speed metal that they had prior to these guys. But in any case, this is a German pressing. It has got an extra track on it called Big Guns, and I just got this year. I always wanted a copy of this and never could find one. So, but I also grabbed the original pressing, because what's cool about the original pressing is it's got the original sale sheet in it, where you can buy you can buy the Metal Church neck brace, which I always thought was the coolest thing in the world. Never seen one, but looks cool.
Yep, I always thought that was cool, and I knew this was out too, but that's not the one that caught me.
Yeah, well, this is when I discovered the band, but to be honest, it was, I mean, as much as I love that album, this album just captivated me and it just made me the fan. I mean, yep. I like this album so much that when my own band recorded a tribute record, that was one of the first songs I suggested, let's do Ton of Bricks. So that's what we did. We ended up recording a thrashy version of Ton of Bricks on our Lexus.
It's good too. You did a good job on that.
Thank you. So, but again, this is David Wayne again. This is 86, the very next year. Better recording, still raw, still aggressive, still fast, still heavy. Again, riding that fence between traditional metal and thrash.
Yeah, I want to chime in on this too. This is the one that captured me, because when I heard Ton of Bricks and Start the Fire, Watch the Children Pray, The Dark, and listening to David Wayne scream his freaking head off, man. This to me was the very definition, like you were saying earlier, of U.S. heavy metal. This is what was doing it. I know it's thrashy, but I think you're summing it up perfectly. They're riding that perfect wave between traditional metal and thrash metal. And to me, I know a lot of people are going to go back to the first one and say that's the best, and I'm not going to argue that. But to me, this was the best thing that they ever did.
I just think the first two albums are the perfect 1-2 punch, kind of like Iron Maiden's first two records, or you know what I mean. They just go hand in hand perfectly together. So
yeah.
Anything to add, John?
No, other than that, I'm trying to solve my my connection issue. And I think I have another friend from tech support of the camera. Hey, shout out to Louis if he's still watching.
I'll I'll just keep showing stuff for now. Then this goes right along with the last one, but this is the "Watch the Children Pray" Christmas EP or Christmas single.
Oh, cool.
I mean, it's
that.
really just an Electra 12-inch that was released at Christmas with a little sticker on it that says "Merry Christmas" from Middle Church. Yeah, white label promo. Watch the Children Pray. So I thought I'd pull that. It's kind of cool. So, but after that, we lost David Wayne. He didn't pass away. He left the band. And joined the guys of joined the band Heretic. Basically, renamed the band to Reverend.
Wait a minute. So both of the first two Metal Church singers were in Heretic?
They basically swapped bands. That's what happened.
Interesting.
So, yeah, David Wayne moved on to sing for Reverend, which is nothing more than Heretic with David Wayne on vocals. Heretic put out this one album with Mike Howe on vocals, which sounds a whole heck of a lot like Metal Church. Again, riding that wave between thrash and power metal. I mean, thrash and traditional metal. I always called it U.S. power metal. Even back in the 80s, we called this stuff power metal. Some people call it thrash. Some people call it traditional metal. I don't really care. It's just great stuff. But yeah, Metal Church basically stole Heretic's vocalist. Heretic took on David Wayne and put out Reverend, and then they ended up recording 2 more albums after this one and an EP with David Wayne. And then sadly, the only other thing that he really recorded was and this one's never been on vinyl that I'm aware of, but the Wayne Metal Church album.
Yep.
That thing rules.
That took me a while to find, but I finally got one.
That thing is a rager, man. I love that record.
And
while we're on the subject of David Wayne, this thing also came out on Nuclear Blast. I don't see a date on it, but this is a proper live album from the David Wayne era. I didn't know about this until 2 or 3 years ago, and I was able to grab a copy of this.
Yeah, I grabbed that one too. It's very long.
I actually have a recording of them on vinyl. Yeah, that's from Dallas, I think. I think that's a recording from someplace in Dallas.
Well, let me show you this. So on this David Wayne era Metal Church recording, here's what it says. This is a collection of live recordings from 1986. Due to the fact that these tapes have been in storage for quite a number of years, there's very little, if any, documentation on exactly where and when it was recorded. We do know that some of the tracks were recorded in Dallas, but that is all we know.
And according to the notes that are on this one, pretty much on the vinyl, the whole thing was recorded in Dallas. But like I said, there's 2 different pressings of this. So I
need to get that.
Who knows what to believe? So.
Right. Well, it could have been a Z-Rock broadcast too, because Z-Rock was doing live shows, live broadcasts of everybody back then.
Yeah.
So
anyway, since we're on the subject of David Wayne, let's just stick to David Wayne for a minute before we get on to Mike Howe, because they also did several years later. They did a reunion with David Wayne, and they released Masterpiece.
That's right.
Now, to me, Masterpiece is, if I was to put all the Metal Church albums in order of preference, Masterpiece would end up in last place. I didn't think it was a strong album from them, even though they do a wicked speed metal cover of Toys in the Attic. Of course, being a huge Aerosmith fan, I love that song, but it just wasn't a solid release from them, in my opinion. I'm not saying it's terrible. It's just not up to Metal Church standards, in my opinion. That was the last thing he recorded with them.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing all this on, because a lot of this stuff, I'm missing some of the middle of the catalog. Like I don't know what the heck happened to my hanging in the balance. Well, we'll get to that, but I'm missing a lot of the middle part of this catalog.
So anyhow, he split ways with Metal Church again here, and then went on to record Wayne. And the album is called Metal Church, and this sounds more like Metal Church, and it's a better album than this one, in my opinion.
100%. That thing is a raging album.
It's fantastic. So, all right. So now we're into our topic, which is Mike Howe, who died on July, as far as we know, July 26th, 2021.
Yeah.
That's what they posted on the website.
So, and the first album with him was a kind of a change in sound for the band. and we went to Blessing in Disguise. Now, it's still very much a metal album. It's still very much U.S. power metal. It's just not quite as thrashy as the first two albums were.
Mm-hmm.
It's cleaner. It's got better production, and
it's more melodic. It's a more of a melodic album than it is.
Yeah, Mike Howe's got a more melodic voice than Wayne had. Wayne had a very raspy, Steven Tyler on steroids kind of voice, whereas Wayne's got a smoother Ronnie James Dio Dickinson kind of thing going on, you know. That's the difference to me. I remember when I first heard this album, when it first came out, everybody was really into it, and I was personally a little disappointed because it wasn't the raw thrashiness that I was hoping for, expecting.
It didn't have the snarl. It was almost too polished, and that threw a lot of people for a loop. But if it's good, it's good, and it is different.
It's just different. You know how it is with any band putting out something new when you're expecting something, and then it's not what you're expecting. It's a little bit of a personal disappointment, even if it's a great album like this one. And now I love this record. So a couple of these songs were actually written with David Wayne. Fake Healer was one, had different lyrics at the time, and that song was actually re-recorded on the Reverend Gathering of Demons EP under the original title and name. So and
that's a genius.
The Gathering of Demons.
You're an expert.
The Gathering of Demons EP was just recently re-released this past year, either the end of 2020, beginning of 2021. Remixed version of it, the original version of it, and then it's got the band covered UFO, Lights Out, I believe it was. They could cover UFO, and then there's some live tracks on there. Frankly, if you could find the original, no offense to the record company that put it out, but whoever mastered it and mixed it, it's just not as good as the original.
No, it's pegged. It's like pegged to it's brick walled, as Poser Mark would say.
It's unfortunate. It's that the sound is, and the mix, the new mix is literally worse than the old mix, and that's unfortunate because I love Metal Church and Reverend and whatnot. But the original EP is great. Although the UFO track on there sounds fantastic. It's my favorite track on the reissued one. So anyhow, Blessing in Disguise, the introduction of Mike Howe, and definitely he was to them what Bruce Dickinson was to Iron Maiden. He took them to the next level of popularity. So
that one took, somebody in the comments said that it took him a minute to warm up to Mike Howe and the band. And that is the same with me. I'm choking to death again on the show. But I don't remember. And there's so many comments I'm scrolling through, but it took me a minute too. But again, what happened to me sometimes when I would see these bands back in the day and they'd have a new album or a new singer or whatever, I'd see them live and that would kind of trip my trigger into, okay, this makes sense. And then I'm going to tell you, this might be my second favorite Metal Church album now.
That's a lot of people's favorite.
I really like this record. So yeah, I love it.
So then the follow-up, I think I got him in the right order, is Human Factor.
I don't mean to talk ill of the dead, but I just didn't like that record at all.
See, now I thought it was a great follow-up, and I really liked this one. I didn't have to warm up to it like I did the other one. I especially liked the opening, and here's the original CD version, because it didn't come out on vinyl originally. It only came out on CD and cassette, and it didn't have the name on the cover or anything. That is the cover. But I really like the intro and how they're kind of poking fun at the whole rap movement and sampling, and they're kind of poking fun even at the all the bands that are basically copying Led Zeppelin and Aerosmith. And nothing against these bands, but the Kingdom Comes of the world and the Guns N' Roses of the world and those kind of bands who were basically had taken their sound from another 70s band and made it their own. And that's kind of what that original song says, write your own damn songs and play your own damn music. And and I kind of dug that about this release. But yeah, I like it as much as that one. It's very similar in style, in my opinion. Songwriting, production, sound, and they're also on. I think this was also their big label debut too. They were on Elektra before. I don't know if you consider Elektra a big label. I guess they are. but this was actually Sony Epic.
Yep.
You don't get any bigger than Sony and Epic. So.
Well, I mean, the Doors and the Eagles were on Electro for a while.
Yeah.
So
this is true. I'm pretty sure it was Electro, wasn't it? Yeah, they were Electro. So.
Yeah. Yep, you're right.
Anything else to add?
Not to that. I'll be honest with you. I'm not unfamiliar with this, but I could stand to revisit this.
And as always, when we talk about this stuff, I have stuff sitting on the shelf gathering dust that I probably haven't readdressed for years and years, and I'll probably pull it out and listen to it, drop it in the player, listen to it, and see how it sounds now. It may sound better, and sometimes I think we get so wrapped up in bands' consistency, the sound. I guess that's kind of what threw me, for example, like Metallica. Sure. we had the first three raging speed metal Metallicas, and then all of a sudden they polished it up and took out the bass and did something weird with the kick drums, and they still had great songs and speedy songs, but then they had a ballad, and then by the time that the Black Album rolled around, I'm like, what the heck are these guys doing? I want speed, thrash, mayhem, hair flipping around, and what I'm getting is guys in fedoras and eye makeup. And it was so weird that I just waved it off. Like everything after that, I'm just like, yeah, whatever. They claim it's the heaviest, best thing they've ever done. Yeah, whatever, Saint Anger. I got you covered. But yeah. I think I did the same thing with Metal Church, and then it was already a slow burn downhill with them, and so but
Metal Church really never did the deep dive into any sort of
and they didn't do that. I'm not saying that they did, but just that there was a different recipe, as Rick Perry and I were talking about. They say when members change that the recipe changes too.
Sure.
And I think that's kind of what happened, is that the sound, they introduced this new, more melodic sound and less raging, thrashy, speedy sound. And they still had a few of those elements because some of the members were still the same, but they added melody and it just changed. It changed the recipe. And so sometimes people, they like original Coke. They don't like Coke Zero, Coke Lemon, Coke Lime, Coke Explosion, whatever they like.
New Coke,
old Coke. And so, same thing with bands. But as I pointed out, circling back to it sometimes after having it just be a non-factor for so long, and you listen to it like an individual record rather than something that got sandwiched into a catalog.
Yep.
Because I can go back and listen to the Black Album now by Metallica even and say, yeah, it's not a bad record. It's actually a good record. Was it a great Metallica record following up those other three Ragers? No. But that's my opinion, and what do I know? It's just my opinion. But I might do the very same thing with that human factor. I may just say, I see it now that Scott mentioned it, and that's why we're all here, because of course we're not experts. Well, Scott's an expert. I'm not an expert. But
far from an expert.
but as my dad,
you're definitely leading the charge on this episode. That's for sure.
Well, as my dad would say, an expert is a former drip under pressure. So I don't know if you were a drip when you were a kid, but anyway, anyway, once again, I like this interaction because we're talking about things that I haven't listened to in years, and it might be worth a listen now that we've talked about it. Fresh set of ears, fresh.
Oh, he gone. All right, now that John's done because he doesn't have a choice. Let's get to the next album, which is either the best album cover of all times or the worst album cover of all times, depending on who you ask. But I don't have this one on vinyl. I wish I did. But this is hanging in the balance. And from John's expression, you can tell he thinks it's one of the worst album covers of all time.
That is like Halloween's. What was that? The Chameleon, or what was that?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Oh my gosh, that is the worst. But anyway,
the music is good.
I absolutely avoided this album because of the artwork, and I didn't get it till several years after it came out I don't remember how I came by it, but I found it and I grabbed it and was like, I guess I'll give it a listen. And it's pretty damn good.
It is very good. It's. I mean, it's pretty much what you would expect from this era of metal church. And there's some great songs on here. But it's also not on a major label anymore. Now they were on an independent label, Joan Jett's label, actually, Black Cart Records.
Oh wow.
So they moved down. I guess I don't know how. I don't think it's a down move, but some people would say they moved down to a independent label, and they put out an album, in my opinion, that was just as good as the last two, with an album cover that obviously people don't like. And shortly after, the band broke up, and that was the end of Metal Church for a short while. However, we did get this little gem that was released in Japan only, which is Live in Japan, Metal Church with Mike Howe on vocals. Sound quality on this is absolutely abysmal, and it is an official release, distributed by SPV on Black Heart Records. But yeah, this is for diehard fans only. It is nowhere near as good as that live album that we had just shown a few minutes ago with David Wayne singing on it.
Oh man, I was about to start investigating that, but okay.
Yeah, it's really not that. It's really not something you're going to spend any time listening to. It's more of a cool. I own that. Let's put it on my shelf with the rest of the Metal Church stuff.
Yeah,
so
I saw him on that tour, whatever.
So there's some cool photos. Like there you go. I'm getting bad glare, but you kind of see there's a cool picture of Mike Howe right there, screaming in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow,
well, as a side note though, sometimes when bands, when you're on a big label, that just means you have big budgets that you have to pay back. And sometimes bands will step back even into a smaller label like Blackheart, and where they have a little more control over their product, which they obviously did on that album cover art. But I digress. But sometimes it's a move to get a little more focused on the music. I mean, I was thinking of I was looking at Overkill. They were on Megaforce for a while, Atlantic, and releasing big budget records, and then they stepped down and went almost into completely independent, where they were DIY, being distributed by a huge distribution company. And so I don't know, and I think it helped them improve and get back in the groove again. But this caused them to disband, I guess. When did they actually get back together? Because I remember the Rail Club or the Ridgely Theater that had a Metal Church reunion show planned, and then it got postponed, and then someone hurt their back, and I don't really remember all the details.
They officially broke up in 1994, but they didn't put anything else out for all those years, Mm-hmm. And then they did the reunion in 1998. That was the one they did with David Wayne on the Masterpiece record, and then they broke up again in I think 2006. Maybe.
Hang on, I got it right here. Reunion of classic lineup and Masterpiece. Monroe led lineup. Wayne's death. Second breakup, 2002 to 2009.
Right. In any case,
yeah,
they ended up getting back together and adding a new vocalist, a third vocalist. Not Ripper.
Not Ripper?
Not Ripper. Not Ripper Owens. It was Ronnie Monroe. Damn, it was I had Ripper stuck in my head and I couldn't get it out of my head. Ronnie Monroe. Jeez.
You're doing great, buddy.
So that was what, 2009? I think, when the first album came out with him. And I believe that album was, and I forgot to pull an album. I just realized that I'm missing one here. Weight of the World. And this is a great album. And
that is a good record.
It is a return to a thrashier sound. It's not quite as melodic. Ronnie Monroe kind of has a gruff voice, somewhere falling in between Howe and Wayne, if you can kind of picture that.
2004, by the way.
What's that?
2004.
Okay. Mm-hmm. About by a year. But I think it's a great album. And again, new vocalist. As from what I understand, Mike Howe just retired. He was done singing and done the rock and roll lifestyle and just wanted to live a different life. And ain't nothing wrong with that. I mean, I know from, and at that point they were playing what? clubs, and I can tell you from playing in a band that only played in small theaters and clubs for years, it's rough doing that for year after year after year, playing in these dives, at 1 o'clock in the morning. So I can totally understand why he would do that. So, but regardless, a new Metal Church, new vocalist, great sound, great album. They released 4 albums with him. We don't really want to get into a long discussion on Ronnie Monroe era since we're kind of focusing on the other 2 vocalists today. But I thought this was a great album, and I thought all the albums he did with him were great or good. I mean, there was nothing bad released. This is A Light in the Dark, came out, I believe, the very next year, which again was great. I don't think this was ever released on vinyl. I don't have it on vinyl if it was. Then there was the awesome, I think this is probably one of the best of the bunch, but This Present Wasteland. One of the cool things about this album was they let the fans do the artwork. So they had a contest. I mean, it kind of saved them money because they didn't have to pay for someone to do artwork. But at the same time, what they did was they had all these different fans put in art, and they picked one for the cover, and that guy won. I don't know what he won, but he's the cover artist. But then all the rest were used with their names. So there was a bunch of different covers on the insert that fans did. There's another one. It's got all the names of the people on it. I like this one, actually. And the center spread, here's another one. The center spread is a whole bunch of them that... Here's another one. If I can get to the center spread is a bunch of different covers that they had to choose from. So it was really all, this whole thing was all about the fans, because I mean, there's all these different album covers they had to choose from all these different fan artists. I thought that was a really cool idea to do. I mean, if I was a huge, if it was me, I'd be stoked.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I didn't even know that. I've had that CD before, and I didn't even know that. But like I said, I'm missing a bunch of the middle part of the catalog, but that's pretty slick.
Well, Metal Church is one of those bands I kind of followed closely the whole time. I never really stopped following them. I was always a fan. Anyhow, the next album, which I didn't pull off the shelf because it's a digipack, and I have my digipacks in a different area, and I just forgot, was called Generation Nothing, which was the last album for, again, I want to keep saying Ripper, but it's not Ripper, it's Ronnie Monroe.
Ronnie Monroe.
It's Ronnie Monroe. And again, I thought all 4 records they did with him were stellar. And I wrote down the years. So it was, 2004 he joined the band? Was that it? Or 2009? Was it 4? Through 2013. So he was with him for quite a while, almost 10 years.
Yeah.
So wait, they haven't done anything since then?
They have. They broke up again after that and got back together after that. But before we get into that, 1 second, because I got to show this because it's such a great album. Ronnie Monroe recorded Peacemaker.
Oh, yeah.
Era with Scott Riff Miller on guitar. This thing's a beast. I love this. It's such an underrated gem. Nobody knows this band. Nobody's heard this thing, but it's so damn good. You've heard it, right, Rob?
Yeah, we worked on it.
Yeah, we both heard it.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and it's got great artwork too. I'm getting a bad glare. I've always liked the cover art, and the label put a lot into it. I mean, they printed big old 12x18 promo posters and paid for advertising, and went to a couple of big festivals that. Now this band has never played live, but he went to a festival that Ronnie Monroe was playing to sell this thing. And he went to another festival where Scott Riff Miller's band was playing to sell these things, and nobody interested. It's kind of a bummer because, like I said, it's a really good record. It's a really good record. So anyhow, the Metal Church gets back together and comes back with, and this is where Rob, you can chime in because you said this was one of your favorite records. There it is.
I jumped full on board with this. Pre-ordered the Rat Pack Records special, which came in a slipcase, signed by the band, and it had stickers and all sorts of shit that they threw in there. Rat Pack is really cool with their pre-orders and all the cool goodies they throw in there. And so when they announced that Mike was back and they were going to tour and do all this stuff, I hit the pre-order button pretty quick and only had heard part of one song or whatever they were teasing, and I love this record. Reset is a great song. Killing Your Time, No Tomorrow, but my favorite one on here, and one of my very favorite Metal Church songs now is number 11 on here, Suffer Fools. Now, this particular version, the pre-order version, also came with a bonus disc, and there was a whole other disc. There are 8 more songs on the second disc. So you had to pre-order that, and I don't know if it was leftover demos, I can't remember, but it's basically like you got a double album for the pre-order. So that's pretty stinking cool. But if you haven't heard Suffer Fools by Metal Church, you need to check out Suffer Fools. It is a banger. I love it.
Or Reset. Reset's another one off that album. That's
killer. Reset's fantastic, but the subject matter in Suffer Fools is very interesting to me. The song, I think it's the best song on the album, but also reading through the lyrics, I think somebody had pissed them off a little bit.
So that was followed up by, again, he's back in the band. So we don't actually really have one original Metal Church member in the band at this point, and long-term singer Mike Howe. But Kurt Vanderhoof was really the only original member, as I recall.
And he was out of the band for a long time too.
But he was back for here. And maybe if one of you guys in the comments, if I'm wrong, let me know. But I'm pretty sure he was the only original member from the first album that was still in the band. But then they were
right.
That's not it. What did they release next? Where'd it go? Here it is. Yep. And I pre-ordered this one. This is Damned If You Do. This is a Rat Pack release with the little extra crap. It's got the little Obi strip on it. I don't know if it's called Obi if it's not Japanese, but
not a Japanese thing.
Yeah. But yeah, again, a solid return. A solid heavy metal record from I remember back in the 80s, everybody called Metal Church Thinking Man's Metal. You guys remember that or hear that back then? I used to remember reading it, even in reviews, I'd say Thinking Man's Metal. What the heck is that? And they called bands like Metal Church, and even they were saying the same thing about Queensryche. Something about the lyrics being, not your typical heavy metal lyrics. It was Thinking Man's Metal.
Right. Yeah, that one was 2018.
So, yep.
I like the other one better, but this is definitely a solid Metal Church album.
Yeah, I agree. And this basically is the last full studio record that Mike Howe sang on. Although there are more things in the catalog to show with Mike Howe on vocals, because after that we got Metal Church Live.
Oh yeah,
which
now I've got that. I don't know where mine is.
It's really, really good. The only disappointing thing I found about it was it's instead of having a full live album, side D has a studio, and there's nothing wrong with the side D. It's actually a cool song, but they redo Fake Healer with Mike Howe and Todd Latour singing together.
Mm-hmm.
And then they do a new studio version of Badlands. Again, cool, but damn well on this tour they played songs off the new albums that aren't included on this live album. These are all songs from the 80s and that are on back here.
Right.
Beyond the Black, Date with Poverty, God's a Second Chance, and Morning Watch the Children Pray, Start the Fire, No Friend of Mine, Badlands, Human Factor. That's your set list on here. Nothing from those two studio albums that they did with him. Again, it's cool. I like the cool version of Fake Healer with Todd and trading off vocals with David.
Yeah.
Excuse me, with I keep wanting to say David. I'm mixing up names here. Mike Howe, yeah. I don't have this one on CD. I only have the vinyl version of it. So
Gary I says Alcatraz was billed as Thinking Man's Metal too. So throw that into the slab heap of thinking man's metal.
Yep. And then the very last thing that they released just this last year, this is from the Vault, and it is the vinyl is basically broken up into 4 sides. Mm-hmm. So you've got side A being 4 new studio tracks that they recorded together. So it's basically an EP. Side B is it's all B-side tracks that they recorded for other albums during the If You Do sessions, exactly. And there's 5 songs there. Side C is all new cover songs that they recorded together. So Please Don't Judas Me, Nazareth, Green-Eyed Lady, and Black Betty. Green-Eyed Lady is
Sugarloaf.
There you go. Yeah. And of course, Black Betty. And then side D is live tracks from the Vault, and you get Agent Green live in Japan and Anthem to the Estranged live in Japan. So I
like this quite a bit. I enjoyed this one a lot.
It's a cool odds and sods collection from them. And unfortunately, it will most likely, unless he's recorded something since then that we don't know about, will probably be the last thing we get with Mike Howe on vocals.
Okay, well, I think Fraser Dawson wins the man of the hour because he says that he has the Peacemaker CD.
There you go.
Oh, nice.
So let's not shocking though. That guy's got a pile.
Oh, let me say this real quick before I forget.
Oh yeah.
Anybody who's watching this, if you're interested in this Peacemaker CD, I know for a fact that at boonsoverstock.com they have copies of this for $7 on CD. boonsoverstock.com has copies for $7. So if you're interested, snag one from them before they're gone. I doubt it will be repressed.
Great record. So let's address some comments as we have moved through our Metal Church episode. I'm going to look at the Facebook comments first. Hello to Gary Ireton. Thank you for always being here. Johnny, good to see you. Donnell, he's the one that said it took him a minute to warm up to Mike. Richie Harris says 77. I don't know what that means, but I love you anyway, buddy. Took me a minute to warm up. Robbie, get that book yet? I did not get the book yet. Mike had a badass voice. He deserved to be in Metal Church. I agree. Rest in power, Mike Howe. Completely agree. Now we've got a bunch of YouTube comments.
Hey, Alvaro Villatoro said that he discovered Metal Church in '89 and with Badlands. Now that's a bill right there.
He's talking about the song Badlands.
Badlands?
The video, yeah.
I was gonna say if that was a bill that was traveling, I completely missed the boat. So my bad.
No, you're good.
I wasn't a thinking man right then.
Harking back going all the way back to the first part of the episode, Fraser accused me of sending Scott some chaps. Going to see Kickstarter Warrant. Fraser says he's going to see Mexican Dio on Saturday, which means James Rivera. Playing at York Fairgrounds. Fallout Boy. Oh yeah, Joey Jordison passed away. Expert fans, yes, thank you, TJ. Rip Joey Jordison. Wow, I don't know much about Slipknot. I know that he was pretty influential on that sort of thing. Was a big part of the band. I know very little about Slipknot. I know they had an album called Iowa. Gary says, "Hi, kids. Do you think Ronnie Monroe?" Oh, Fraser has a good question. Do you think Ronnie Monroe is going to go back to Metal Church? What's your opinion? I don't know.
It would be if they do anything in the future, I would think he's the only logical candidate.
I think it would make sense. I just don't know what you do at this point. It will be very interesting to see what happens because they had risen, way back up. I don't know, man. That'll be interesting to see. Metal Church rules. You're right. Gary says, I'm a bit Metal Church clueless, but very sad about Mike Howe. So, Gary, I would recommend The Dark from the David Wayne era early, and I would recommend the album 11 from the XI album from when they came back with Mike Howe, and also Blessing in Disguise. Those are the ones that I would tell you to check out. What's up, all these metalheads dying? What the hell? If I could stop it, I would, Frazier. Breaking Point is a great album. The Heretic album is good. I need to check that out. I had no idea. Rest in peace, Mike Howe. It sucks that we're losing these legends. Gary, here's a question for you, Carcass. Gary wants to know how old you are. He turned 60 in December.
Sorry, Gary, I got you by a year and a half. I turned 62 in September. Oh, that's
you did or you will?
I will turn 62 in September.
There you go. Metal Benz chronicles that 1981 demo is quite fast for its time. I guess I'm going to need to check that out, Scott, because I didn't realize there was a demo floating around. Metal Church underrated.
You can find those demos on CD and vinyl.
Metal Church, from Olympia, Washington. Fake Healer. Let's see what else. Frazier accuses Lars of playing drums on a trash can.
Which is a fact. It's not a rumor.
Don't have to be an expert for people to enjoy your commentary. Thank you very much, because I suck at this. I'm just glad that anybody's here. Is Ronnie Monroe a believer now? I don't know what that means. Believer in what? A believer in God, I guess. I have no idea. Would have no clue.
I don't know either.
That's Peacemaker. Got the Peacemaker. Okay, I think we're through all the comments. Please Don't Judas Me is a great cover song. I liked their covers of those songs. I thought that was pretty cool.
That's my favorite of the three covers, because it's first of all, it's a great choice of a song.
Yeah, Todd Michael Hall solo album is Todd, singer from Riot 5, Riot V. Kurt Van Hoof wrote all the music. Great melodic hard rock. Interesting. So I've seen that Riot V out there, or Riot 5 or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. I've never checked it out, but I do know that Todd Michael Hall is a good singer. I'll check into that. Thanks for the recommendation.
Yeah, Riot 5 is great. Riot V.
I like them, but they just need to change their name. It bugs me that they're still trolling around under the Riot moniker, and they haven't been this. I mean, they're 20 years removed from the original band.
Is it supposedly the remnants of Riot though?
It is the remnants of the last Riot, right?
Oh, okay.
There's no original members in the band. I mean, 3 of the original members have passed on.
I gotcha.
So, but it was, from what I understand, I keep wanting to say Guy Speranza. What's the guitar player's not Guy Speranza? Come on, help me out here. Guitar player for Riot.
I got nothing.
Why do you turn the camera on and get stupid? In any case, it was his wish that the band continue on and continue to keep the music alive, continue to keep the Riot name alive. So that's kind of what I read and what I heard. I'm actually right now reading a Riot biography, so that's kind of, I haven't got to that point yet, but
I've got Riot here within arm's reach.
It's under the R's, Rob.
Anyway, I can't find it.
It's under R.
My
so gosh, metal, I know how to spell. So Mark Real.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you. The Music Vault coming in. Thank you. Yes, Hail Mary at the last second. And also Metal Overkill, off topic, but did pick up Babylon this week after watching last week's show. What did you think? I want to know what you thought about Babylon. I don't see Metal Church calling it quits completely, but who can even speculate their mindset and
I never thought Motorhead would never call it quits, but they don't really have a choice because the guy that is Motorhead is no longer with us.
Right.
But
cool.
Lots of moving parts. Kind of like the Power Trip thing. I did hear a rumor that they may, in fact, be looking for another vocalist. Whether they keep the name Power Trip, I don't know. But it's hard to move forward when there's just so much changeover and moving parts. But I guess if it works for Riot V, it could work for anybody.
Well, it worked for Priest for a couple albums.
Yeah, that's true.
Iron Maiden for a couple albums. So you just never know. But you never know what the chemistry is going to be like. And I am glad that with Mike Howe, it was good when he first came in, and then it was good when he rejoined the band.
Right.
So you either have the chemistry or you don't, and I'm glad that he did. Riot V, I'm going to check into that. Sorry.
Yeah, you'll dig them. They'll be right up your alley.
Cool. Yeah. Well, you guys got any parting shots?
No, that's it. It's bummer that we lost Mike Howe. It's kind of a bit shocking to hear someone passing at that young an age for that. I mean, I'm sure there was a reason, but it's not like we knew he was, sick or something like that, and you're kind of expecting it. So
Right.
Well, I've had personal experience with someone passing at a young age and for no apparent reason. So
yeah,
like I said, that's why in fact, after, I just got back from a family reunion out west, and it's amazing to see these little toddlers that you knew from when you were in your 20s are now having kids, and their kids are having kids, and you just see the layers of life, and sometimes it's long and sometimes it's not so long, but but anyway, we kind of put these guys on a pedestal because they're out there, they're popular, they're touring the world, they're doing things that we like, and so we favor them a little bit, and it's just unfortunate when someone that's like a star or popular in music or whatever, a movie star, whatever, it isn't around anymore. Yeah. It's just weird. It's a weird thought. I mean, I'm still like the Motorhead thing. I was talking to a friend of mine out in Utah, and shout out to Gray Whale and Taylorsville. I know I do that all the time, but every time I go there, those guys are so cool, and they still, of all places, they're selling metal in Utah, and the one guy was just, they're just like, man, we Motorhead. I mean, those guys are iconic, but it's just no more. And thank goodness for CDs and tapes and vinyl and YouTube and all the other various sundry ways of listening to music, because there you go. The legacy never ends because you have the ability to play it on your turntable or in a player or whatever, or look on your wall and see a nice little reminder of the past.
Yep, that was
very cool.
Yep, he signed it, and several of them signed. I think they all signed it. Actually, you can't see because of the glare. But anyway, yeah, man. Good episode, boys. I appreciate it. That was good. I'm sorry about the subject matter, but I'm glad we got to go through the Metal Church catalog, which is kind of what we do when we talk about bands. More than anything, we thank you, yes, you, for watching.
Do we tease next week or do we wait?
What's that?
Do we tease next week or do we wait?
How confident are you?
I think my boy's coming through. I do. Look, we got bumped today because of Jamie Josta of Hatebreed. Okay. I now would you take that gig?
Yeah.
Or would you come on with us?
Yeah. No, I'm going with Jamie. All
right. So hopefully next week.
The plan is
that Charlie Belmore, who's been in a million bands, including one of my favorite, Toxic Holocaust. He's in a side project with his brother, Kings and Liars, and he's now touting the new Dee Snider record. He tours. He's the lead guitarist with Nick Petrino in Dee Snider, and he's going to join us. He's been in Kingdom of Sorrow. He's been in he's just a pile of things. He's a great guy, great musician, and hopefully we won't get bumped by another superstar. I told him to bring Josta with him. Might as well join the fun. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens next week. We're not. This is an imperfect show production value. Hey, but you noticed for the last 20 minutes I haven't been bumped off.
No, you're good. Maybe your IT guy came through.
Shout out to Louie.
Technology Jesus is smiling on you right now.
Yeah, he said it was on my end. So, of course it is. Everyone's been telling me that. He said, close out all your apps and just be on StreamYard. It'll help. So that's what I did.
We'll get you cleared away.
Yep. But I got nothing.
That was it for episode 102. I want to remind you again, several things, actually. Carcass and I will be out at some shows. We will be at PowerFest 3 coming up on August 18th, where Tim Ripper Owens, am I getting this right, John? Tim Ripper Owens is headlining. Cage will be right under him, and then there's a bunch of local bands, all which promise to be good. Spicoli from KNON is hosting that, and I have it on good authority that he may be shouting us out. I'm just saying. So anyway, we'll be there. If you see us, please come and hang out. We would love to hang out and have a beverage or some tacos, or let you buy us a bunch of merch or whatever. And then we've got and
then so we got Iron Jaw, the Obsessed, and the Skull
on August 6th.
And then after that, we have the Power Fest thing not too soon thereafter. And by the way, if you've never seen Cage, man, those dudes absolutely shred. And Sean Peck's voice rivals just about anybody that's singing in a 55 octave range. That dude can really get up there and scream. It's great.
Well, and Sean Elg on drums,
Casey Trask on the Sentinel on guitar. Man, they're awesome.
Yeah, this is gonna be a good fun show. And then we've got the Bay Area Strikes Back coming to Gas Monkey a few weeks after that. So yeah, it's gonna be a busy fall around here, baby.
Yippers.
Follow me on Instagram at I am Metal Rob. Follow the Carcass on Instagram at Carcass John Art. And go check out Scott Waters on YouTube by searching Scott Waters. You can also go to the lamest website in the world by going to themetalroundtable.com, and that can launch you to us. I put that up, so that's why it's the lamest one ever. Anyway, for episode 102, I am Metal Rob, along with Carcass John and the great Scott Waters. Until next time, hey, wait. I want to do the
claw,
the black metal hands this time. Can we do that?
The Bruce Corbett claw?
Yes, that's what we're going to do. All right. Shout out to Bruce. We close it out by saying metal will
prevail.
I should be holding like a glass.